we have a very special session, and the selection of the topic was related to some of you guys who are going through a lot of interview this week, and especially project management interview. So I decided to go through to do some kind of hands-on and really break things down for you to see how things work. How do we run the day for a project manager or from a Scrum Master? But before that, I just wanted to encourage everybody here, and I'm sure some of you are not very committed in terms of applying, or you are just applying for field work. Give me 1 second, please. Let me turn the fan on here. So this is all about the law of large number. This is all about giving everything in to be able to get something out. So most of those interviews, as you will notice, actually the machine will select you randomly. That means they go through the selection and you might not even get selected. So you want to go through a lot to get something. When we say apply for 35, why not go for 100? We have a lot of project management and agile role out there to apply. So the law of large number always works. So to get started, I'm going to share my screen and we go from there. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is usually during the interview, the recruiter will ask you, can you run me throughout your day? Can you run me through your day? Tell me how you run your day as a Scrum Master or as a project manager. So this is a little bit an example of how you run your day, first as a Scrum Master, and then we go through that as a project manager. So what happened usually when you log in, most of all we are remote, or when you get to your job, try to log in a little bit earlier before your meeting. It should be the routine that you want to put in place. Why is it important? Because you want to make sure that first you want to check your calendar, and I wanted to go through that and show you how you navigate through those things. So I don't just want to tell you, I want to show you. So we check your calendar. That's the first thing to do. Check your calendar to see if you have any meeting. So if most of you will be using Team, so definitely check your calendar on Team. When you check your calendar, check your email. So most of you, if you are using Team, you'll be using Outlook as email. Check your email because you might have some emergency email that you want to maybe report to the meeting. So when you check your email, you check your calendar, you check your email. The third thing you want to do is to open either your Jira or your Rally or your Azure DevOps or your Microsoft project. Those are the tools that we use to manage project. Why do you open those tools? Because you want to make sure that if there's any outlier, if there's any misbehaving, if there's any data that is misbehaving, then you want to You want to address that. For instance, I will show you an example. If I take something like, let's say, Jira burn down, Jira spin burn down chart. I'm just showing you an example. So if I go to this, all right, let me show you an example of misbehavior. Can I make this bigger? Preview. I'm trying to make it bigger. That's why I'm doing all this. Let me put it somewhere on PowerPoint. If you are not seeing my screen, please let me know, because when I'm switching from one screen to another, you can lose the view. Are you still seeing my screen? Are you seeing my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is an example of burn down chart. Okay. So why are you checking this chart? To see what is happening. Is there any job that was added? Like here, it shows that normally this should be dropping. The goal is for this red line to drop to zero, to meet this line and even go under. Why not? So like it was progressing and then drop and then stagnate for some time, then start going up. So those kind of behavior you want to address. Okay, because you want to know what is happening. Are they adding more work? Is there any flattening work that is coming? Or what is it that is slowly, is because you want to pay attention to this. This should be closer to this line, to this green line. So when the space between the red line and the green line is wider, then that means it's a problem. You want it to get closer and closer to the end. Now this, it a little bit misbehaved here, but it came back to the end. So this is what we call burn down chart. You want to track that. You want to track your sprint burn down chart because you want to know what is happening with your team before the meeting. So now when you track that, you take note of whatever happening. And when you take note, before you go to your daily stand-up. And if you are a Scrum Master, usually you have at least 2 teams. That means you will run daily stand-up at least twice in the morning, well, sometime in the morning, okay? So you will go for the first daily stand-up, usually it's 30 minutes, but 15 minutes is for this developer to report their update, what have they done, what is going on in their daily goal. Are they going to reach the goal for the sprint goal? If there's any issue, then they bring it up and you have to record those issues. And then after that, usually you have your tracker open. I showed you the tracker last time. Let me see if I can show you an example of tracker. Last time I showed you the tracker that I like to use. Here. So I usually build my tracker. So this is an example of tracker. And why is it important? You want to know if there's anything going on with your team, you want to take note of it. That means you put anything down. Maybe somebody didn't show up, maybe you want to follow up, maybe somebody is sick and all that kind of thing, because you are the glue among that team. You are there to build trust. So if somebody is sick and you don't follow up, you don't check on the person, it's not good. It shows that the team doesn't care at all. So you want to pay attention to that. You also want to pay attention to problems. So you report any problem that any developer have mentioned or any stakeholder. If there's a blocker, You want to report that so that you follow through, you follow up with the team later on. That is why you have this tracker. So this tracker up here is for daily stand up, and this is for your sprint, which is the same day. It's just to help give you an idea of what is happening. Now, when you have that open, you take note on your tracker so that you can follow up with the team. You do the same for both teams. That means, let's say, it can take you about, usually it's back-to-back meeting for most of the case. That means you can have the first meeting from 8:30, from 8 to 8:30, and the next meeting from 8:30 to 9. Usually it's like that. So it's back-to-back. That's why I always recommend do this preliminary for both of your team in the morning. So when you finish that, then what happened? It's already 9 now. So when it's 9, maybe you have to go to another meeting called status report meeting or a leadership meeting. It depends on the way your company is structured. That meeting is like weekly. I chose a day that is very busy, like the end of the sprint. So today, this day that I chose is the end of the sprint. Let's say that you have a Scrum meeting if you are in the same environment, or you have a status report meeting with the leadership. So what happened, the next 30 minutes that you are collecting the data from your backlog to see where is your team standing. How many stories do they have? Are they facing any risk of not achieving or not meeting the objective that they're committed for? So you prepare that status meeting, and then maybe 9:30, you jump in the meeting. And then you give your report, you give your status update, and you follow also the other team, because you might have some impediment, you might have some dependency with other team. You want to make sure that you follow up with them. You really follow and make sure that you address that at that meeting. When you finish, guess what? Let's say that is the end of the sprint. Now you finish is now 10. Oh, let's say 10:30, because this is 10:30 here. From 10:30 to 11, what happened? You are doing your sprint review. Sprint review, because it's the end of the sprint. That means both teams, sometimes you will have 4 teams. I have students who have 4, 3, or 1. It depends of your company, at least 2. And even when you talk to your recruiter, always say that you have 2 teams minimum. So let's say that 1 hour for one team for the review and 1 hour for the second team for the review. If you have a application development team that they can show things, they can show dashboard, they can show things that you can see, like this can be something they show. That means something that is working, they call working software. They can click on a button, it can open, then it's great. But you might also have a team that we call mainframe. Mainframe team, those guys have a bunch of code, and you don't understand anything about what they do. You just see a bunch of code like this. You see that? You see? So they show you, oh, this passed and this failed, whatever it is. You don't need to understand anything like that, but this is their review. So you don't see anything good, just bunch of code. Okay, that's okay. You just want to pay attention to the problem if there is any. Okay, so when you finish that, what happened? You go back. Let me go back. So now it took you about up to 12. Now maybe you want to take a break, because usually I never schedule a meeting between 12 to 1 p.m. Never. It's not good, because that time you are supposed to know that your team also are taking their break, and you also are supposed to take your break as well. Now, usually, because you control your time, you don't have to anyway. Now, when you come back, remember we finished the review. Now, when you come back, you want to do your retro. Again, you are doing retro for 2 teams. So we finish with the review. Now we do the retrospective, and the retrospective meeting is to ask your team what went well, what didn't go well, how can we improve on, what can we improve on. Okay, so it's an opportunity for you as a team to get better in your process, in your collaboration, in your tools, and whatever you feel like you need to build, to better yourself as a team. It's a very important meeting. If there is no meeting to facilitate as a Scrum Master, the retrospective meeting is the #1 meeting you must pay attention to. Okay, And when the team mention an issue, please follow through it. Make sure that it's resolved. Make sure that the next retro, you don't have anything pending or you are working toward clarifying whatever is on the board. So when you do the retro, you see that if you take 1 hour for each of them, it will take you about 2 hours, and then the day is almost over. And then from 3 to 4, what do? You check your email, answer your email, because in the morning, what happened? When you check your email, apply what we call 2-minute rule. That means if you can answer that email in 2 minutes, you can do it. If you cannot, leave it and you answer it later on. Okay, we will get more detail from the PM one. So you check your email and you also check your chat throughout the day. Of course, people will be chatting you for something. Maybe you have to communicate via chat. It can be team, it can be Slack, depending on the type of tools that you have to communicate with your team. And then maybe you want to clarify something with your PO, things like that. And then the day is over. You prep for the next day. Maybe the next day is a new sprint. You want to always refresh. What am I going to do? So try to think through that. Hey, next day, what is, in my schedule? What am I going to be working on? Let me pause here. Any question? I'm expecting question though. Do you guys have any question? No question? Okay. That means you understood that very well. So I'm going to call somebody to ask question. If, let me see, Nadine, if I'm the recruiter and ask you like in 3 minutes, can you run me through your day? How will you go about it? Nadine, are you there? I know you are muted if you are talking. Who want to try?
We would check our calendar to see if we have any meetings first.
Yes, ma'am. What else?
And we would check our emails and take note of any issues.
So now you are saying you, not we, right? It's you doing that. So, hey, when I get in my desk, the first thing I do, I always check my calendar. You see, it's you. You are talking about yourself, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
So I would check my calendar first to check to see if there's any important meetings, like you stated, and then check all emails to see what's going on so that I can be prepared for the meetings, approximately 2 meetings, and preferably back to back.
That's wonderful. Yeah, because you have not even started the class and you kind of master what it means. Those are very important. If you cannot run your day, you will not be able to convince them. Now, let's see now what happened with the project manager. And we will take a little bit more time on project manager because it's just the way and the nature of the work. So this is the project manager. How do you go about it? The same thing, check your email, check your calendar, open your tracker, whatever, if you have the tracker. For this one, you don't really have the tracker. And if you do, you track other issue, right? You are not tracking your team because you might be tracking your project. Because as a project manager, let me explain the difference. As a project manager, you might not be dealing every day with the team, like in the day-to-day. You might have multiple teams. They're working on multiple product or one single product, but multiple team are working on one product or multiple team are working on multiple product, and you are the project manager managing those projects. That means you work mainly with the tech lead or the scrum master of that team to know where they stand. But what do you do in the morning? So you go through that that email, because you as a project manager, you have a lot of email going on as well. Apply that 2-minute rule. If you cannot answer them, leave it. But if you can answer them within 2 minutes, it's the best thing to do. For instance, maybe you can realize that, hey, my team A have an emergency, have a server is not working. Now it's a problem for you because it might slow down your project to be completed. So you have to take some action. What the answer? Maybe you have to take notes. So you are checking your email and see if there's any problem, and you report that problem. Let's say you need an emergency meeting to address a problem related to the server, or a new team member need access to a software or to a licensing so that they can be able to do their work. Maybe you are the one to grant them access. That could be one of the things that you want to do. Maybe you check the board of one of your team and you realize that they have so many stories open and this is the last day of the sprint. It will make you worry because you're like, what is happening here, right? So those are the things that are on your plate, multiple things on your plate. You want to address that. So you want to go to the stand-up meeting. You don't facilitate any stand-up meeting. You listen. You are there to listen and to address issue if you observe. Like, hey, I just observed this in your team. Can you tell me more about it? Are you on track to finish this? Can you meet your SLA, the service level agreement? Okay, so now when you finish that, what happened? Maybe around 9, so here, let's see, around 8 to 9, you join those stand-up meetings because you want to know where they stand. If there are any issue, you report. After that, you come back to your work. From 9 to 10, maybe you are reevaluating your backlog to see, is my team doing well? Am I on track with my budget? Things like that. And I will show you what it means. So, and then you are preparing also, maybe you are preparing the status report for the leadership. So now most of the project manager, they report to the upper management. That means they report to what they call C-level executive, right? That means CEO, COO, most of the time. So you are very, very visible when you come to your work. And you want to make sure that you gather the data that is required to be able to do that status update. And I will show you an example. And at the same time, you want to also communicate with other stakeholders. Maybe your leadership, they are internal stakeholders. They are maybe the sponsor of the project, but that project is going to serve your customer, and your customer is an external stakeholder. You want to keep them updated. They want to know, okay, are we on track to deliver this product? You want to be able to tell them, yeah, we are on track. My team is working on it. And at the end of the sprint, they will be able to deliver this and this to you. You want to communicate with them to see how they feel about it. That is extremely, extremely important. Because if you don't communicate with them at least twice a week, they will feel like you are not doing all your work. They start doubting. Okay. And let's say around 11, what do you do? We talk about communicating with your stakeholder, try to make sure that, check on them. Then you take your break. Then when you come back, maybe you have an emergency meeting to clarify something. Maybe a team needs you to clarify a scope. They need you to clarify a requirement. You want to jump on that meeting. This is unplanned meeting, okay? You have your day, you schedule everything on your day, but you can have a lot of unplanned coming up. And that is the life of a project manager. You have to be able to change your priority very quickly, depending on the emergency that you have in hand. And now, you also want to build relationship. Remember, you as a project manager, you are not the one doing the work. Team, other people are doing the work. You want to empower them to do the work. So building the relationship is not just meeting them on one-on-one, which is very important. Of course, you are not meeting, you don't have to meet them. Let me go there. All right. So this is an example, right? This is a basic tracker, right? A project of 20 million. Just imagine your brain like that. And you want to track every single day to see where your team stand and how do they manage those projects, how the project is going, and how things are behaving. Are you on schedule? Are you on track? And all that. So this is an example. So if you have a view like this, it doesn't tell you much of the story, right? But seeing this, it really doesn't tell you much. That is why the first thing that you have to master, the first skill you must master, is how to design a pivot table, right? So This is an example of pivot table that I did for that for that table, for this table that we have here. So, and maybe your goal, as you can see here, pivot table give you different view. Okay, let's say that we want to see this table based on the status, right? Based on the status, what happened? Now we are seeing everything on the table, but we don't just want to see everything. We want to see, even we are seeing everything, we are having a good, we can have a good idea now. Why? Because you can see that sprint one, we can exactly see the project that are in the sprint one. You can see the tech lead who are working on those projects. You can see how much are they, each of them are spending for that project. You can see the start date and the end date, and you can see the priority. It gives you some idea, but you can go further. It can also give you here, right down there, you can see who have the highest budget, right? As you can see, they each have the highest budget. So you can know who has the higher budget, who have the lowest budget, so that you know how to also motivate them. But you can filter that in different ways. For instance, let's say that we are filtering based on the status. What do? You can say, okay, I just want to see the project that was completed only. So what do? These are the projects that are completed, and these are your, you see, they give you all the project completed. It gives you the graph for that, and you can even do the sum of that. Let me see. You can do the calculation on the value. So if you want to do the value here, we have to put the cost and we have to do total, right? So as you can see here, you can know that sprint one, this is what we have as a cost. Sprint two, this is what we have. And those projects, all of these projects are completed, right? These projects are completed. We can decide to filter based on in progress. We only want to see the project that are the project that are in progress. We don't want to see the project that are completed. So it gives you an idea of what is in progress, as you can see here. So it gives you, and it can give you already, you can be tracking, it takes you like a few seconds to do that. And imagine that you have 1,000 rows to go through. So you have to be able to customize your chart to make sense of what you want to do. Or you can decide that you don't even want to see based on the status, but you want to see based on the priority. So let me get the priority. Let's say that you want to filter this project now based on your priority. Maybe you want to focus on the high priority project only. So guess what? Those are the high priority project. And maybe you don't have enough budget and you want to make sure that those projects have to be completed first before you completed the second one. You see, so this gives you the calculation and show you right away what are the highest priority projects that you can focus on. So you can have that view. That is where, when they ask you, how do you track your budget? How do you track your schedule? You can even track based on the schedule. So we track high priority. Maybe we want to discard every low priority project. That means we want to know how much money are we saving by not working on this project. It gives you that money there, so you can leverage that as well. Give me 1 second. And you see that right away, he give you, you already know that if you remove the low priority project, you'll be able to save 51,000. And what if you remove the low priority and the medium priority project? You'll be able to save 155,000. You understand? So you as a project manager, you don't think like an ordinary developer, right? You think as in terms of saving costs. You think in terms of lean. You have to ask yourself, what would save me the most cost and give me the most value? So we can also filter based on what? We can filter based on end date. Why end date is important? Because you want to know, maybe you are tracking the schedule. Maybe you are tracking the schedule. So you want to know how many projects will be over by August. Let's clear everything here. How many projects will be over by August 2022? Okay, so August, September, I'm taking the latest date so that you can know how long it's going to take you to do that, or how do you prioritize those. As you can see here, you know that, hey, this project will be over. That is where that is going to be when they will end. So that means, and if this project have a high priority, the high priority project, you want to pay attention. Hey, why will I be working on a low priority earlier and leave the high priority at the end? That is not smart as a project manager. So you want to change priority. You want to prioritize your backlog. You want to make sure that you speak to the stakeholder to convince them to see the value of whatever you are doing. You see, so this is just a small table, but think of this as I don't know, as 1 million row that you are filtering. So having Excel skill is key when it comes to project management. And I'm telling you, this could be data only. For instance, for those who are tracking, I'm taking this as an example, vulnerability, okay? Vulnerability management, when it comes to IT, what happened? They have different scanning tools. And those tools scan the entire IT infrastructure, whether on cyber, on data, on tech, on risk, every single day. The tools scan billions of records and publish that record into a dashboard called Grafana. I'm taking one of the dashboard. It could be Tableau, it could be Salesforce, whatever it is. Publish the data there, and you as a project manager, let's say that you are tracking those initiatives. You have about 50 initiatives that you are tracking. You have more than 10 different teams that you have to send them scope every single day. So when you wake up in the morning, your job is to pull those data from that dashboard, creating the view, a nice view so that the developer can see it without struggling. And not just they can see it, but when they click, they can have more information on whatever they are doing. And then you have to send them to them and tell them, hey guys, this is your scope for today. We need this to be done by the end of the week. And you have to also follow through during the week so that you can go to the status report and tell them, hey, we are on track on this, we are off track on this, we are at risk on this. And this is the reason why we are at risk. We are filing exception because we want to be compliant. And then when you file exception, this is a way to cover yourself up. It's a long process. You file exception maybe on service now. When you file exception, you also want to track the exception so that the exception doesn't get expired. So not just you pull the data for the technology, you pull the data for the infrastructure, you pull the data for the exception. And you are talking to like 100 people at the same time. I am telling you, if you are not efficient, it's going to be very tough. But when you understand Excel, is your way to go. So if you don't understand Excel yet, or Google Sheet, please, there are many free sites out there that will help you to apply that skill, to learn Excel. Trust me, learn it is going to help you a great deal. Like you can see, having those trackers, we drop that menu, you have to be able to do things like that so that you can track your day easily. You can create things, you can key in formula, you can automate your calculation so that you can become efficient, because we talk about efficiency. And I'm sure some of you are very excited to get 2 jobs. But you cannot have 2 jobs if you are not efficient, because you have how long it takes you to complete one job. If it takes you so long to complete a table like this or to run a report like this, then that means you are not qualified for 2 jobs. So don't just go for the job, build your skill. When you build your skill, anything can follow you. You can do a lot that you don't even imagine. I want to pause here for question.